Hey guys, Squatch here. Today we're going to jump into part 5 of our Dillon XL750, the 9mm series. And in this video we're going to focus on station 4, which is our bullet seating station. Now we are intentionally skipping station 3, and that's where we're going to house that powder cop. And we're doing that until we get this tool head set up, our powder charge set, and then we're going to circle back and jump on station 3 for that powder check. So let's get into station 4. Alright, so from our Dillon 3-piece carbide die set, we're going to use the Dillon Seating Die. So this die comes apart in several pieces. I'm going to jump down here on the bench and show you how this comes apart. And also we need to determine, based off the bullet that we're using, which seating stem or which side of the seating stem that we're going to use. So we're going to take a look at that as well. Alright, so on the Dillon Seating Die, there is a really neat feature about these, is that it has a double-ended seating stem insert on the inside of the die. And it'll accommodate round nose bullets like this one, or like a truncated cone or flat tip bullet. You can flip that seating stem around. So for illustration purposes, we're going to confirm which seating stem, or which end of the seating stem is in this die right now. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to pull this retainer clip off, set it aside, and at this point the die body will just slide right off. And if you notice, in the main stem shaft itself, there's a pin, and one diameter on one side is larger than the other, and now that is a keeper pin. So we're going to knock that out like so, set it aside. And then we have the main stem body, or stem shaft here, and then the seating stem itself. And one side has more of a conical shape to it, with a radius, and the other end has a flat area. And I'm going to get you up here a little closer so you can see this. But on one end, you can see that flat surface. And on the other, you can see it's definitely more rounded. So to put this back together, we're going to use the round end right here. So we want to make sure that we, first of all, line up the two corresponding diameters and insert it so that the round end is towards the business end. And we're going to let that slide back, put our keeper pin in place, and sometimes you got to wiggle it around a little bit, but this pin will only go in one way, luckily. Now we're going to slide the main body back over the seating stem, put our keeper pin in place, and now we are ready to move that over to the tool head. So we're going to put our seating die into station 4 here. Again, we are skipping station 3. We're going to circle back to that with the powder cop installation. But we're going to take our die, get our lock ring up there at the top, and we're going to put just a few threads down in the tool head. And I'm going to bring you around, and I'm going to show you two things that I suggest to set this die up correctly the first time. Setting up a seating die is not complicated at all. I mean, all we're doing is we're putting a bullet into a case. So we're having a case in station 4, we're placing a bullet on top, we're running the case up into the die, pushing the bullet in, and then we're making adjustments clockwise or counterclockwise to get that overall seating depth or overall length that we're looking for. So two things that I do, because I want to be consistent in the load or the batch that I did before. So I always carry, for each load that I develop, a master sample or a dummy round. And what this allows me to do is quickly set up my case overall length, and by adjusting the die down to this round. Now the other thing that I do is I will put an unsized case in station 1 and bring that up into the sizing die as well. And the reason I do that is within this shell plate we know that there is some deflection. So if we would go ahead and set this case overall length up with nothing in this tool head, what I found anyways is you're going to see a couple thousandths difference once you fill this tool head up and you have cases going up into each die. So what I always do is I'll set this die with, you know, what's directly across from it is what the sizing die. So I'll put an unsized case in there. So I'm getting that deflection that's going to be there no matter what as I set the die. So usually once I get this dialed down, I'm pretty close. Maybe just a fuzz little adjustment and I'm good to go. So I'm going to show you real quick how we do that. Alright, so the first step in setting this up, I'm going to take an unsized case and I'm going to drop it in my drop tube from my case feeder, and I'm going to run it into station 1 by cycling the press. Okay, so now I have an unsized case in station 1 that's right underneath our sizing and decapping die, and I'm going to take our master sample or our dummy round here that I know is the length that I want to run, 1.145. I'm going to stick it in station 4 underneath the seating die, and I'm going to go ahead and run this shell plate up as if I'm cycling the press. So I've got a case being sized in station 1, and I've got my dummy round up in here that's started in my sizing die, and I'm going to go ahead and start threading this die down until I feel it engage the bullet. So once it engages, I'm just kind of firmly tightening that with my hand, not a wrench, and then I'm going to drop that lock ring down just so it touches the top of the tool head. And at this point I'm done. So I'm going to run another case in the sizing die, or I'm sorry, I'm going to cycle the shell plate over, put a flare on this size case that we have in there now, and I'm going to grab one of the bullets that we're going to use. I'm going to cycle that case over to this seating die, and then I'm going to double check my measurement, and again I'm going to keep a sized case in station 1 as I button this up for right now. So let's get a flare on one, and let's get it over towards the sizing die. Alright, so I'm putting my flare on, and keep in mind a lot of this is just kind of roughed in. So I've got my size case with my expansion put on. I've got the bullet that we're going to use, and I'm going to grab another case. I guess I should have done this first. Into station 1. Use my expanded or belled case here, and I'm going to run this up, and then I'm going to check my overall length. Alright, so we're going to grab some calipers here and see where we're at. Alright, so we're about 5 thousandths too long, and again, pretty easy adjustment. I'm going to take this case out here, grab another unsized one, and one thing I would suggest too, as you're setting up this sizing die, using the same case with the same bullet in over and over, sometimes you'll get some dents started in the bullet, and the setup won't be as accurate that way. So no more than 1 or 2 times, but I know that I've got about 5 thousandths to move there, so I'm just going to make a real tight quick adjustment here clockwise, run this back up into the die again with a case in station 1 being sized, and then I'm going to check my overall length again here with the calipers. So we're at 1.148, so that's pretty darn close. But we're gonna get it exact. So again, I'm gonna bring a new case up into station 1. I'm gonna make a real fine adjustment there, clockwise. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right and make sure that we're exact. If you're going to do it, make a masterpiece, right? So now we're going to check our length again here. And we're at 1.145. That's exactly where I want to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and run this back up into the die. And I'm going to lock this lock ring down. again, since I tightened it, I'm going to double check, and we're at 1.145, so right on the money. All right, so we accomplished setting up our OAL. 1.145 is what I was shooting for in this video, and the method that I showed you by putting a case in station 1 and sizing as we're adjusting that die just eliminates a lot of the tweaks that you're going to have to do later once you get this shell plate full. Now, that is something that you will want to check as you start running because that deflection, simulating that as you're running is very difficult to do. So I'm just trying to mitigate as much of that adjustment as I need to do later as possible. Now you could go ahead and just put a case in station 4, put a bullet in there, and keep cranking down and making the adjustments. But when you actually fill this up and running, you will see that overall length is going to change a little bit based off, again, the deflection and what's going up into each one of these dies. So that just seems to help mitigate, again, some of that adjustment later on. Now, we did create another dummy round, or master sample as I like to call it, and I took a Sharpie, and this is a good thing to do. I wrote down on here what this overall length is. And we're going to hang on to this one because it's not crimped yet, and it's going to be useful for us one more time when we're setting up the station 5 and setting up the overall, or the crimp on the case. So I have a box. I just throw these in, and there's different OELs, different bullets, and so on. So if I need to reference them or set up another die pretty quick, I can grab one, get me in the ballpark, so I'm not constantly, running the RAM up, making adjustments, and so on. So it just saves a little bit of time. So again, the next video we're going to jump into crimping in station 5. Then we're going to jump over, get our powder measure set up with the charge weight that we're looking for, and then we're going to circle back to station 3 for those of you that are running the powder cop or want to run a powder cop. We're going to get that set up, and we need a charge case and able to do that. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on my email, squatchreloading@gmail.com. I try to get back to everyone as quick as possible. You can also find me over at Facebook and Instagram at Squatch Reloading. If you guys want to support what we're doing, you can find us over at Patreon, patreon.com/Squatch Reloading. And if you guys like these videos, hit that subscribe button, get the bell notifications so you stay up to date with everything we got coming. Hopefully this series will be wrapped up here in the next 3 or 4 weeks or so. But until next time, guys, God bless.